welcome. It's good to see you all today. Welcome. Thanks for being here. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Page 106 for today. Notes. It's a sunny day. I get the sense people are feeling pretty good. All right, we'll start with a couple of announcements, as per usual. Maybe. Extra credit movie tonight. Extra credit movie tonight. Go back to that for a minute. 205 Ferguson, 7 o'clock. You'll meet Maddie there. Make sure that you sign in and stay for the conversation afterward about this movie. I am. So that's available to you. And this just was announced today, this event at Shavers Creek Environmental Center. It's led by RPTM 456 students, and that's happening at Shavers Creek on April 4th. I sent it out to you as a Canvas announcement. There's a QR code there where you can scan that and then register for the event. Let them know that you're coming so that they have enough s'mores for you. What a fun time, an opportunity to spend some time outside. So that's a fun thing coming up. And then I would like to show you, we've talked a lot about different, and we're going to continue talking about ways to get involved, things that you can do, or maybe after the things that we've talked about here in part 2, you want to get involved. And so on the Canvas page, I'm going to show you how to get to, okay, first you're going to go to Pages when you're here on the main page, on the main menu. You'll go to Pages where the red arrow is, and then you're going to go to View All Pages up there, and then the screen that you get to looks like this. So this is where you may be going to connect to the blog. It's also the place you can see Packback questions. But then these two opportunities are here for you. Penn State Action Sheet. There are all kinds of clubs doing all kinds of crazy cool stuff. And so it's a good way for you to connect. This is a spot where you can find Penn State resources. And then there's one just called Resources. And this is where you can find where there are blog posts, Instagrams, you can find websites, you can find podcasts, all different kinds of ways that you can connect to all kinds of different things that may have you've sparked your curiosity about things. So these two resources are there for you. So please check those out. It's an evolving document, so let me know what you discover other than what's on there, and then I'll add that to where we are. So just providing more and more resources for all of you and BiSci students in the future. All right, so this is where we've been. You know, you feel, you intuit. We've been having lots of different feelings, lots of different emotions, lots of different challenges, lots of different things we're thinking about. So what we're working toward is this question of how can you and I use all of these capacities to become more alive and more connected and shift this story that we've been talking about. So how can we find more love and care and connection and responsibility for ourselves, for other people, and for the non-human world? So today's class is called Happiness. What about happiness? How do we find, what's that all about? So we're going to dig into that because the other day when we talked about economism, this was the theory of how people a lot of people, I'm not saying all of you fit into this one bucket, but this seems to be a trend in our culture. You work hard or you win the lottery, you get money, you accumulate possessions, thinking that that's going to bring the happiness. And so I understand that it might not be exactly the story that you're working toward, but certainly it is something that people around us are definitely. So we definitely yearn for a path, right? I've heard a lot of you say, I just want to be happy. So what is it that brings happiness? For me, from about the time I was 10 or so, I desired a convertible much like this one, right? And that was my image of what success was. If I can grow up and have one of these, that's what's going to show that I am a successful person. Well, not long ago, I realized that I don't even like driving with my windows down. The noise really bothers me. I'm pretty noise sensitive. And so I realized I don't really like being blown around. It makes me feel a little bit crazy, and not in a good way kind of crazy. It makes me feel kind of trapped. And so then when I reflected on this, as still that I was holding this still as like, someday I'm going to have that convertible, someday, I realized that what I actually want about this is that I want what it represents, right? It represents some sort of excitement, and it represents some sort of freedom to me, the idea of accomplishment, but the idea of also just, that means I would have time to like drive around in this, right? It means that I would be able to relax. It means that, I would have this sense of freedom. And so I realized after I used the questions, the why questions, I realized that this happens to me more often than I really want to admit sometimes, right? The in styles, the boots, that people have, and then I get them and realize, oh, those aren't comfortable. Like, I don't really want those. The jeans, the shoes, the latest technology, totally cool, maybe totally uncomfortable, and actually represent something else that I want underneath. So how much money have I wasted on things that I didn't really need and actually in reality didn't even want? Things that I wanted for other reasons. So like this, I have a thing for chairs. I have a thing for chairs, I admit it. I have a chair problem. I have bought so many chairs over the last 15 years, believing that a comfy chair, I'm just searching for the right chair. This one is cool. It's made of recycled saris from India. Some really cool craftsmen made it. I've had rocking chairs and bean bags and comfy, fluffy couches with cozy cushions. But what I've realized is that it's not really about the chair. It's about the idea that I don't take care of myself. I don't sit down. I don't rest enough. So I could buy 100 chairs, but if I don't take the time to sit in them, it's not going to bring me what I want. It's not. This chair is perfectly fine, but my cat Leo sits in it more than I do. So I've realized that I don't need to buy more chairs. It's just that I need to take the time to take care of myself, to sit down. I'm working to shift my story because of what I realized. So for you, what is that thing? What is that thing that you're, reaching toward or striving for or wanting that represents success to you? Are you looking for that home, the perfect home with a big yard? Are you looking for a fancy boat, a place a lot of you have talked about loving the ocean in a lot of different ways? Is it that you want that tropical vacation? Every year we go to Florida, we spend time at the Keys, or go to Bermuda, the Bahamas. Tropical adventures? Is it that perfect shoe collection? Like when you have the perfect shoes or jewelry? Or what? What is your thing? You know, what do you want money for? What do you want money for? And why? George Carlin says this: trying to be happy by accumulating possessions is like trying to satisfy hunger by taping sandwiches all over your body. It's not going to get at the real issue. You know, that tree that we've looked at, the symptoms, you know, are just not really what's at the root cause. So taking time for metacognition, we've been doing lots of that in the last 11 weeks of this course. Thinking about your thinking. I'm not judging. I'm asking you to reflect on your story. Right? What can we discover? It can reveal so much and actually save us a lot of potential pain or problems if we know what's really going on in the underlying layers. So, getting at happiness, what are our needs actually as humans? So at the very bottom, these are the very basic things, the physiological needs. We need to have food. You know, these are things that we need for survival. Food, water, air, shelter, warmth, rest, sex. Those are the things. Those are physiological needs at the bottom. Safety needs, security and safety. An individual's psychological needs are satisfied with the physiological things down below, then the needs for safety and security come next. People want to experience order and predictability. They want to feel like they have control over their lives. Emotional security, financial security, that's where we're going to go today, of how money and happiness are connected. Law and order, freedom from fear, social stability, property, health and well-being, safety against accidents and injuries. And so then we move up, the belongingness and love needs, that's the intimate relationships. So it's not just the sex, it's the connection with the people too, right? The intimate relationships. They motivate our behavior. Friendship and intimacy and trust and acceptance. This is the giving and receiving of affection and love. It's a psychological need as we move up this pyramid. The esteem needs. So this is where we can feel pride in what we do as human beings. It's our dignity and achievement. It's feeling that we're master of something, you know, whether it's our job or our household. It's feeling independent. It's that desire of respect from other people. So this is where the need for respect or reputation, Maslow says, it's most important for children and adolescents, and it actually precedes real self-esteem or dignity. It's feeling that love and that respect from other people. And then as we move up to the top, the highest level in Maslow's hierarchy, that person's, you know, our personal potential and our self-fulfillment, including our creative activities. We're going to talk more about that later in the semester. So this is the desire to accomplish everything that you can, to become the most you can be, that self-actualized being, feeling self-fulfilled. So the lower ones have higher priority, but at our core, we're seeking to fulfill them all. So when I choose something, to buy something, that's actually so that I'm receiving love, from somebody else, or receiving that sort of respect of other people. So if I buy the right boots that everybody has, then, I'm wanting their approval, which kind of fits in, up here in this level. But what if I'm spending that $200 on those boots instead of actually buying healthy fruits and vegetables for my body, right? That's going to take care of who I am at that physiological need. So am I looking to satisfy higher needs at the cost of lower ones? Are there alternatives that might cost less and actually fulfill a need better? Or is it even fulfilling the need that you think it is? So I want you to take a moment and think of someone that you believe is happy. Think of someone you believe. So what leads you to believe that? Take a moment and talk to your neighbor about this. Share a story of a person that you might be thinking of that fits this happy. Who's happy? I'd love to hear. Can I hear from a few of you about your happy people? Who do you think is happy? Who do you get that sense that people that have a really deep-seated happiness?
Jen, we have one on the balcony.
Great.
Hi. The first person I thought of when I looked at this question is of my papa, because he has gone through so much, and the point that he's at now, he has such a strong relationship with God and with himself, and everything he does is not to fulfill something within his character. He's very non-materialistic, and he just loves to help other people, and he really gets happiness from helping other people, and he's always just really silly and goofy and doing funny things.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Love it.
Hi, I'm also over here.
Oh, great.
Hi. I thought of my mom, because even though she might have bad days, my mom always tends to look at the more positive perspective, and I try to live by that every day, because the more positive your perspective, the more positive your life will be. And even though she has a bad day, she'll look at the greater things in life, the things to be more grateful for, rather than just having a bad day. And I think that's something that everyone should think about, having a positive perspective and being grateful for things that are bigger, like homes and having a family and that stuff.
Yeah, thank you. It's beautiful. Yeah.
I'm right here, sorry.
Oh,
there's two up here.
Okay, great.
I'd say my dad is pretty happy. I watched him go through some pretty big life changes over the past couple of years, resigning from a job that he had at Penn State for 18 years. solely just so we could spend more time with our family. And he really just taught himself to figure out what he values and do it regardless of what you have to give up to do what makes you happy. So
Thank you. That's cool.
I'm all the way in the back of the balcony,
All right.
all the way in the corner, in the dark. So I don't know if you're gonna be able to see me.
Awesome.
I think I am happy. Well, I know that I am happy.
Yeah.
And I say that because I think most people focus on happiness being like moments. Because like, yeah, I wasn't like happy getting out of bed this morning. I wasn't happy. I'm not happy waiting for grad school decisions to come out. But like overall, I am content. Like I have, you know, close friends that mean a lot to me. I have like a wonderful, amazing partner that's very validating. Like I have pets that I love. I'm working out. So like I think I'm happy because I'm able to take enjoyment in these things that are kind of overall about my life. And I think a lot of people, like, if they realized that happiness isn't like all the time, they would be more happy.
Sweet. Thank you for saying so.
The first person that came to my mind, snaps for that. The first person that came to my mind was my best friend Maddie, who's actually a TA in this class. Hey, Maddie. She is someone who, if you talk about like self-actualization, she's very just in tune with herself and her emotions and her potential, and I really admire that. She does a lot for self-care. She does things that are very like just positive for herself, and I really admire that.
That's sweet. Thank you. She's blushing.
Okay. So that one was really cute. I love that. I can't top that. That's awesome. But I initially just thought about my friend Terry, who I'm over here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I see you now.
Yeah. So I befriended Terry a couple years ago, and he's like this like dope ass jewelry maker in the coolest little town called like St. Peter's, PA. If you guys ever have a chance to go there, please do, because it's like this cute little fairy town. But man is so happy. He's always like, every time I visit him, he's always just like working on some sort of jewelry piece, and he loves to work with like crystals and rocks. And so he's always just coming up with something cool. And he has like gone through so much. Like he had seizures from like the time he was 16 to just recently, because he had to have like a small part of his brain removed. And like, so that process was like so difficult for him, and he was like describing it to me. But like, no matter what, he's just like super resilient and always happy. And I always like see that in him every time I visit, and he's just such like an uplifting person. So that's who I thought of.
Awesome. I love these stories. Thank you. Thank you. And so what happens then? What you've described is just this beauty that's radiating out of these people that you're talking about. And so how does that connect, right? How does happiness with ourselves connect with what we talked about on Monday, the idea of self-acceptance? I'd like you to take in this video that Ben's going to show for us.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for having me. All right, let's do this.
Team Fever, take one. Mark?
So we've got one question that we want to ask you today.
Okay, well, what's that question?
The question is, if you could change one thing about your body, what would it be?
Only one. I would change my forehead. I have a really big forehead. I'd like to be taller.
The puffiness of my face.
My ears. I have big ears.
Stretch marks after having a baby.
A lot of times, like, kids make fun of me, like, Hey man, you get big ears, you got Dumbo over there, you know?
Definitely my skin, because I've dealt with acne and eczema issues ever since I was a little kid.
我小时候，因为大家比较喜欢大眼睛的那种美女，所以我就也希望自己眼睛能大一些。
Growing up, like a lot of people call me like five head or like your forehead's so big. They've always like would say something to me about it.
Yo diría porque muchos todos caminan derecho y como que mi pie está un poco chueco.
When I was younger, I felt like I wasn't quite adequate enough.
Can you sit on the chair? Alright, I'm gonna ask you one question.
What's the question?
If you could change one thing about your body, what would you change?
You know, have a mermaid tail. Probably like a shark mouth, so I could eat a lot of stuff. I could have teleportation in my body. Extra 20 years. I want legs like a cheetah, so I can run faster like a cheetah. I could have wings, like fly. I don't think there's anything to change. My legs and body, actually.
Yeah, you wouldn't change anything?
Nothing else. Just mermaid tail.
Obsessed about getting older and about the wrinkles. I love my white hair. I loved it when it started turning white. It's one of those things, because I chose to stay this way because it just wouldn't be me if I totally changed the way I look.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it.
So what happens if we open ourselves to the beauty of ourselves and the connection? What would that then open as opportunities for us in connecting with more of the world? So the idea. So just last week, out came the World Happiness Report 2023. Comes out every year on March 20th. Which is declared the International Day of Happiness. This is the 11th year for this report. It's put out by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is an international organization committed to redefining the growth narrative to put people's well-being at the center of government efforts.